is Inside Politics, sponsored by United Health Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm NewsChannel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Tennessee General Assembly enters the month of April. In recent years, that's been the home stretch for lawmakers in terms of wrapping up their work. Will that be true in 2017? And what are the big issues yet to be decided? One of the leaders on the Hill who knows what's going on up there is State Senator and Speaker Pro Tem Jim Tracy. He's our guest on Inside Politics. Senator, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you, Pat.
Now, you're one of the main sponsors of Governor Haslam's Improve Act that both raises the gas tax but lowers other taxes such as the grocery tax and the manufacturing tax. How do things look for passage? It was a sort of an odd passage with the bill early because early on in some committees it was passing out of committee, but the word tax increase wasn't even in it.
Correct. Now we seem to be close now in both bodies. Now we've narrowed it down to 4 cents on gas, 4 cents on diesel, and also cutting 20% off the sales tax on groceries.
4 cents? I thought it was 7 cents on gas.
We phasing it in over
phasing it. Okay, 4 cents right away and then phasing the rest of it after that.
4, 5, and 6. We actually lowered it from the governor's plan, so we got 4 cents first year, 5 and 6. On diesel, it's 4, 7, and 10.
Now, there was more sustained opposition, it appeared, in the House. In fact, after it got out of some of the committees this week, one of the members said he thought all the heavy lifting had been done. Are you that far along in the House now?
I think we've made great strides. We're moving forward now.
There's also been at least one fight over it has been the fact that in the Senate they wanted to put in a property tax break for disabled veterans. Some members in the House in particular thought that ought to be a freestanding separate bill. Where do we stand on that right now?
Well, right now it's still in the plan. What we did in the Senate, we took what the governor presented to us, Pat, and in the Senate several of us worked together with Speaker McNally, Leader Norris, and others. We're putting together a plan, and that's where we are today. We've put more tax cuts in. We've also put the property tax relief for seniors and veterans because we wanted to put them all in one package so we can get the budget moving.
There's so many pieces and parts to this bill, and we'll talk about some more of them, but it seems to me the kind of bill that you're often going to see, maybe even late in the session, the House pass a version, the Senate pass a version, and we wind up in a conference committee. Is that likely to be what's going to happen with this bill?
Don't know if it's likely. We're hoping we can come to an agreement and that doesn't happen. We've worked it really hard through the committees, and there seems to be more of an agreement now between the House and Senate than there were 2 weeks ago.
And one of the complications of this bill, as well as it involves so many different revenue sources and cuts and increases in some, that it's kind of holding up the consideration of the budget. One reason you may run into the month of May this year for the first time in a number of years is nobody quite knows what to put in for some of the budget numbers. By now, you'd normally be running the budget at least out of the committees and subcommittees.
Make a good point. We talked about that yesterday in leadership, that this is sort of holding everything back because it does affect the budget, and we're trying to move forward now. Hopefully, we're still on target, you know, maybe late April, early May.
Now, this particular Improve Act is being run at a time when there's still a multi-billion-dollar budget for the state, a surplus for the state. Are you still having to talk to constituents to convince them why you need to increase the gas tax at a time when the state seems to have quite a surplus?
Yeah. There's a lot of different discussions. Yes, to answer your question very briefly, yes, we do discuss with constituents all the time. We want to talk about good public policy and a dedicated user fee, and we think that is the right way to go for the state of Tennessee. Really, that's why the state's in good financial condition. We have the gas and diesel tax to fund our roads for long-term projects. And when you explain that to constituents, most get that and understand that we are going to be using quite a bit of the surplus in this bill also to do some things. So we're not just not using surplus, we are going to use some of the surplus.
Now, it's been a long time since the gas tax was increased, and there was a provision in the governor's bill, I believe it has been removed, that would allow this to be raised not in the future by legislative intent or by legislative vote, but to actually do it by an index, and as inflation increased, the gas tax would increase. But lawmakers weren't ready to do that, right?
No, indexing's out. You're correct.
Now, also, there's a fee in here that would involve electric car owners, and right now they have not had to pay the gas tax because they don't use gas in most cases. So, how's this fee going to work?
It's an annual fee, like when they renew their license plate, and it's right now I believe it's at $100 per electric vehicle. There's not many on the road in Tennessee, but they are using the roads, they are moving on the road, so we think that's the right thing and the fair thing to do.
But the $100 is a flat fee. It would not be adjusted on an annual basis, or it would take another act of the legislature to move it up from 100 to whatever else it might be in the future?
That's correct.
You don't feel like you're discouraging the use of alternate fuels or doing something else to help hold down the amount of greenhouse gases by sort of placing a tax on electric cars? We
feel like we need to, Pat. We've talked about this for years. There's been several bills over the last 2 or 3 years, because if you're driving a gas run automobile, you're using the roads. If you're driving electric, so you're using the roads. Really, I'll even simplify it for those driving an electric car. It's really a discount for them, because the average driver in Tennessee drives about 15,000 miles a year, so they're paying about $160 a year in state taxes. So we're making it a little less for the electric cars.
Another major provision of the bill that has not gotten, I think, perhaps as much talk or controversy as some people thought it might, it was one that the governor wants to do, to allow referendums for local governments to increase their local sales tax and perhaps other taxes like the wheel tax to pay for future mass transit projects in their area. Why has there been so little debate about that? Normally, when local governments are asking for something from the legislature, they don't always get a good response.
No, they don't, but it's narrowed it down to the 5 big counties around the state, plus the donut counties around Nashville. And it gives them the ability to do a referendum where the people will vote on it, and it will be designated for one project in mass transit or what they want to use, and then the comptroller will approve that project and inspect it to make sure that's correct to what they got. And so the voters get to vote on it. And I think that's the reason why no one's really pushed back too hard on it, and we've worked out pretty much all agreements, I think, with the local
Mass
community.
transit is not a Republican or a Democratic issue, at least not right now.
It's not.
State Senator Jim Tracy is our guest on Inside Politics. We're talking about legislative issues as the legislature enters the month of April, which is probably going to be the last full month it's here. Back to continue our conversation with the senator after this break.